Hello and welcome to another episode of Game Theory, the #1 DraftKings prep show in all of the land. I'm your host, Monk, aka the Monkmatician, and in this very episode, guys, we are going over all 15 fights happening this Saturday, December 3rd at UFC Orlando, headlined by Stephen Thompson and Kevin Holland, who is behind my big head, is encompassing his entire head. Tons of great fights on this card, to be completely honest. I mean, we still have 15 fights as of now. Derek Brunson fell out, but Jack Hermansson got a replacement fighter, the GOAT, Roman Dolidze, the lady killer himself. So we've got some great fights to look forward to, guys. Hope you guys had an amazing week off. I know I did. It was a bit of a rough week, but got to see some family down for Thanksgiving, so I hope everybody had a good time. And hope the week went by fast for you, because here we are for another week of UFC fights, guys. We have 3 weeks left. Let's go. Before we get started, please hit the like on this video, subscribe to the Monkmatics channel. It would mean a lot, and it is very, very easy. Stick around for the end of the show, where I will hopefully remember to post CM Monk's picks for this week and picks and predictions, and we will quickly go over how he did last week. So, guys, without further ado, let's get right in to the first fight of the night. First fight, Yasmin Jauregui going against Estela Nunes. Long story short, we've got 1-0 Jauregui in the UFC. She is undefeated professionally, 9-0 going against Estela Nunes. Excuse me, she's 0-2 so far in the UFC, and likely needs a win to keep to sign another contract, you know, or else she's released, I should say. Jauregui coming in $9,300. That is a bit much for what we get, guys. We only have 1 UFC fight to go off of. She has 6 wins by KO TKO, 3 decision wins, no wins by sub. She scored only 2.33 points per minute and 65 points in her win over Yasmin Lucindo. Let's just look at that fight. 86 strikes landed, no knockdowns, no takedowns landed, 1.5% control time. In fact, she got out controlled 2.5 to 1 in that fight. You know, it's basically meaningless is what I mean. Her strength of schedule is worse than Estela Nunes's, right at 60. You want this to be, oh, can you see my cursor? There we go. You want this to be in the 70s, and we are at 60s across the board, except for the fact that she has no defeats. That's just what we're going off of here, guys. Nunes has fought okay competition, got subbed by Carnelossi, majority decision over Sam Page Hughes. You know, not a ton of numbers to go off of in this fight. Nunes gives up a ton of takedown and control time points, but Jauregui, that does not seem to be her game. So Jauregui, to me, seems to be knockout or bust. Nunes has never been finished by KO TKO. She has been subbed twice in her professional career. This screams decision, guys, and at 9,300, I am going to have to see it from Yasmin Jauregui, more than 65 points before I consider putting her in a ton of lineups. Let's go ahead and kick that on the floor. So yeah, I'll be fading this fight in general. If anything, I'll probably have more Nunes than Jauregui, just to, you know, just for contrarian's sake, just to get a little different, way down there at $6,900. Next fight, we are going to get Marcelo Rojo going against newcomer Francis Marshall. Guys, Francis is in yellow because he is a DWCS alum. So we are tracking that fight. He won against Connor Matthews, unanimous decision. Would have scored 121.67 in that win if DraftKings was a thing for that. 110 significant strikes landed, 6 takedowns out of 10 attempts. 40% control time, basically. So just, you know, basically fucked up Marcelo Rojo pretty good. Rojo gives up 4.78 points per minute, 107, almost 108 on average when he wins, guys. I want to see what Francis Marshall can do. He put up 6 points a minute against the Connor Matthews. I'm just excited to see what he can do. At 8,800, it's worth a shot for sure. I definitely like him more than the 9,300 Yasmin Jauregui. You know, Rojo has been finished twice in the UFC. He's 0-2. Both of his losses have come by, have not gone to decision. He got subbed by Kyler Phillips. Sorry, guys, I'm a little out of it. Trying to get over a slight cold as well, I think, that my kid gave me after being in very close quarters with him this week. And then he got KO'd by Charles Jourdain. So I expect nothing different here. He's 0-2. You know, just as the aforementioned Estela Nunes, they might get their walking papers at the same time, is what it sounds like. Looks like they're giving Rojo to Marshall to, you know, as a stepping stone. Welcome to the UFC. And if that's the case, I like playing those guys for DraftKings. They usually perform very well. And at 8,800, I think we're probably going to end up getting a deal on him. Marshall could score, over 100 points, 110, which would be great at that salary. So give me Marshall, probably by finish is what I'm going to go with. Oh, and my pick for the last one was Jauregui decision. I don't know if I said that, but this one I'll go chalk again. Francis Marshall, welcome to the UFC. Get that finish going. Next fight, Natan Levy going against Genaro Valdez. Both of these guys have one loss in the UFC. Genaro has no wins, though. Levy did get a win. What are we working at here? 8,900. Levy did get a win over Mike Breeden, a decision win in which he scored almost 120 points. So we're going to have to keep this guy, in our minds, even at 8,800. Genaro Valdez is the one that, yes, Matt Frivola went off on him. 4 knockdowns. I swear I thought it was 6 knockdowns. He landed 10 strikes, guys. Frivola landed 10 strikes on Valdez. 4 of them were knockdowns. 4 of them were knockdowns. I cannot believe it. Frivola scored a gazillion points in that fight. Looks like it was 158.21. Probably the highest score of the year. I'll have to check that out. By the way, guys, stay tuned, because after these 3 weeks is over, I'm going to do a year-end roundup. I'm going to put out a ton of videos, probably one a day, going over the best DraftKings performers of 2022 from each weight class. And at the end, we'll go over the best, maybe 10, 20 performers of the entire year. So it's going to be a lot of content here for Monk and for you guys to take in over your Christmas break. So stay tuned for that. I've already put together all the spreadsheet, the formulas that I need. So all I need to do is the artwork now. So stay tuned for that after the fights are over for the year. Anyways, where was I? Levy, Valdez. I'm picking Levy. How could you not? The guy has a loss to Garcia, but he does have a UFC win. 2.27 points per minute in takedowns and control time. Valdez, obviously, either Frivola just hits like a truck, which is true, or he has a sussy chin, as my kids would say, super sussy. Sorry, I've been around them all week, and their vernacular is creeping into my brain. So I'll do my best to keep it out. Valdez giving up 21 points per minute to Matt Frivola. Yeah, I got to see it from Valdez here. Give me Levy. Not much to say. Somebody's probably going to get finished in this fight, I would imagine. All 10 of Valdez's wins have come by finish, and let's see, 3 of 7 wins for Levy have come by finish. So if Valdez can hang on, Levy could get a decision win here. Man, I like Levy in this one for sure. I'm picking him to win. I just don't know how much of him I'm going to have for DraftKings. Keep an eye on ownerships, guys. If he's around 20-25%, you might want to go a little bit north of that. If he's a little higher than that, you're probably going to want to keep it low. So give me Levy by finish. Let's see him get his first UFC finish. Why not? Why not? Here's one I don't even really have to go over a ton. I'm picking Tracy Cortez by decision. Why? Because that's what happens in Tracy Cortez fights, guys. She is 10-1 as a pro. 8 of those wins have come by decision. All 4 of her wins in her 4-0 UFC record have come by decision. Tracy Cortez by decision is the way to go, I believe. Not to spoil Uncle Weezy's new news, I don't know, bet, but he put it on Twitter earlier. I saw he was taking Tracy Cortez again by decision, because that's just how she gets it done. And I completely agree with our guy, Uncle Weezy. And at $8,000, we're getting her at a dog price, guys. This is a great matchup here. Not only a great matchup, but a great salary to get Cortez at an underdog spot. 3.83 points per minute, which is good. Only scores 87.44 per win. Obviously, she goes to decision a lot, so there's not a ton of bonus points to be had. What's up, Kenny? Ribas on the other side scores very well, almost identical per minute, 3.8 points, 93 when she wins. I just feel like this one's going to decision. I feel like Tracy Cortez is not going to be stopped anytime soon, and I like her to win the fight. Like her at the dog salary, but this is DraftKings, so what are we thinking? 87 points per win, but she does get 1.7 takedowns and control time points per minute. Ribas doesn't give up a ton usually. In fact, she can land some on her own as well. I just like Cortez here. I like Cortez, greasy decision. Strength of schedule is not even close, really. Ribas is going to take that. Cortez wins over Mello, Egger, Kish, and Gato. Ribas, her 2 losses are to Shukagian, decent, and Marina Rodriguez, very good. I'm a big fan of Marina Rodriguez myself. So I think that would be a difficult fight for Ribas. And yeah, we'll just keep scrolling. I know I haven't scrolled down yet, but there haven't been too many reasons to keep scrolling. If you haven't watched this show before, I just kind of talk and babble and give you my picks. I don't talk about every stat point on here because that would take me an hour and a half or 8 hours to do. I try to get the show done in less than an hour, especially with 15 fights. So just follow along, pause if you need to, or check out the Patreon link in the description if you want all the stats for yourself. Cortez by decision. I'm not getting crazy with it. It would be nice if she scored over 90, 95 points, but let's not expect that. So I'll probably be a little bit down on Cortez as far as DraftKings, but I really do like her to win at the dog spot. Speaking of dogs, one of the biggest dogs on the card, Darren Elkins, going against JSP, Jonathan Pearce. Shout out to my guy, Lou Betya. Lou, I know, is going to try to talk me into, not try to talk me into, but he's going to talk about how he likes Darren Elkins here, and he's going to get a good price on him as well. Elkins for DraftKings scores very well when he performs decently. 3.95 points a minute, 102.76 is what he scores when he wins. He's made the optimal lineup in 2 of his past 3 fights. His last fight probably was not, or no, he did make it against Connolly. I was going to say the Swanson fight before that was the one he did not do much there. Scores 1.6 points per minute in takedowns and control time. Triple digits when he wins by KO, sub, or unanimous decision. I mean, the guy is a great DraftKings play for sure. Is he going to win, guys? He's 1,200 under his salary, and that is for damn good reason. He's only 6,700 this week because he's fighting JSP, Jonathan Pearce, who scores 6 points a minute. This guy has 43 minutes of UFC fight time. He has 5 UFC fights in which he's 4-1. He's maintaining 6 points per minute. 124.62 per win. So all the numbers that Elkins has as far as DraftKings, which are very good, Pearce is beating him. I guarantee it. He's beating him in every category. Maybe not defensively, but offensively, he's probably beating him. So just as Elkins was 1,200 under his salary, Pearce is 1,260 over his average salary. I like Pearce a ton here. 3.43 points per minute in takedowns and control time. Guys, these are 2 categories we love to see high points in. All of his wins, all 4 over 93 of them over 110. I mean, what do we want here? Elkins has given up, in his 9 losses, over 90 in 5 fights, over 104 of them, and over 110 in just 1. Give me JSP here any way he wants. I'm sure it'll be wrestle heavy. What does Elkins give up per minute? Takedowns control time, almost over 0.6 points a minute. So not a ton, but it's not great. It's outside the top 10 as far as this card goes. So expect JSP to take advantage of that. I don't expect Elkins to find a sub. I mean, I would be surprised if JSP got himself into into any kind of position that was, where he could get subbed by Darren Elkins, but you never know. Crazier things have happened. JSP's on quite the run here. Kamaka Morales, which I think is a great win. Christian Rodriguez and Makwan Amirkhani. He put up 145 against Makwan Amirkhani with a second round KO, 4 takedowns, 52% control time. Guys, I expect a mauling here. 9,500 is my favorite salary to play. Pearce has also made optimal at 2 of his past 3 fights. Target this fight, whatever you do. 4 of their past 6 fights, someone has made optimal, or these 2 rather have made optimal. I'll be heavily targeting this one, mostly on the Pearce side. I will have a bit of Elkins that I will play, but 6,700 is notoriously the worst salary to play, according to Salary Voodoo, and 9,500 is the absolute best. So JSP will be one of my highest plays this week over Darren Elkins. Let's keep it moving. Michael Johnson, the 12-14 in the UFC. Michael Johnson going against Mark Diakiese, 7-5. These guys have 19 combined UFC losses, guys. 19. They are 19-19 combined UFC record. Very interesting. We're getting Diakiese at 9,200. I don't think there's a ton of value here on Diakiese at that price. Johnson is 7,000. I don't think there's a ton of value there either. I'll be fading this fight in general, I'll tell you that much. Johnson only scores, 2.45 points a minute, 83 when he wins. He only allows 86 when he loses. He is 1,450 under his average salary, so that will probably raise my ownership. Because you don't get Michael Johnson at this price. I mean, lately you get him close to this, but minus 1,500 basically is a bit ridiculous. Mark Diakiese, 3.43 points per minute, so pretty good there. 101 when he wins, decent, but is that going to pay off a $9,200 salary on this card with 15 fights? I just don't know about that. His defense is crazy good. 1.75 points a minute is his defensive pace, only allowing 76 per loss. And guys, like I said, he has 5 UFC losses, so this is a very, very good number. He is $600 over his average salary. I think this one goes to decision. I don't like either fighter as far as DraftKings goes, especially not the Michael Johnson side, and I think Diakiese is far too expensive for what we are getting. That means I'm fading the whole thing. Diakiese, the one upside here, I mean, he scores almost 2 points a minute in takedowns and control time. If he does that to Johnson, he might that would probably be the highest scoring route to victory, unless Johnson caught him with something, which I wouldn't expect. Excuse me, being like a knockout punch. The highest road to victory is probably Diakiese wrestling and grinding that decision win, in which he could score well, but still at 9,200, are we really expecting that? I know he went off on Borshev, 118. He went off on Hadzovic, 112. Let's see if he can keep that going against the 1-4 in his last 5 Michael Johnson. If that's the case, then maybe I'll change my mind on him. But he is slowly raising his stock with these past 2 performances. Can he do that against Michael Johnson? What's Michael Johnson's takedown defense? 80%, 4th best on the card, guys. That is what we're going to be finding out in this fight right here. So I just don't like the $9,200 salary for Diakiese, even though obviously, I mean, look at these graphs. His raw DraftKings points per minute is trending way up while his opponents are trending way down. Absolutely love to see that. Here are my projections. Visual stat recap. Yeah, I like Diakiese for the win, probably by decision. He can score well, but we are going to have to see his takedown offense is going to be tested with Johnson's 80% takedown defense. So, obviously, Borshev can't wrestle. Damir Hadzovic got taken down 8 freaking times, 90% control time. I don't know if that's going to happen here. I guess I'm going to have to play some. I don't know what I'm going to do with Diakiese. I don't like Johnson at all in this fight. Next fight, Clay Guida, the Carpenter, going against Hot Sauce Scott Holtzman. Scott Holtzman hasn't fought in over a year and a half. I like Guida here. 7,600 is what we get him at. I don't like either guy for DraftKings per se. It's probably going to be Guida decision. He scores 95 points when he wins. He scores 94 when he wins by decision. That's what I expect here. And at 7,600, that's probably not going to be enough to make optimal, but it could be great for cash. So Clay Guida, I do kind of like for cash as an underdog spot. Scott Hot Sauce Holtzman, 3.89 points a minute, 106 when he wins. My goodness. And he is 7-5 in the UFC. Man, let me see his fights here. Lost to Gamrot, lost to Dariush, lost to Nick Lentz, beat Dong Young Ma and Jim Miller. Scored 113 against Ma. Man, Clay Guida beats Johnson, Leonardo Santos. Yeah, I don't want Clay Guida for DraftKings as far as GPP goes. Like I said, I like him for cash. Holtzman, I mean, I guess with those kind of numbers, almost 4 points a minute, 106 when he wins. He is $567 over his average salary, though, guys. I don't know. It's been almost 500, almost 600 days since he fought last. Clay Guida, almost 41 years old. Scott Holtzman, 39 years old. These guys are a combined 80 years old, give or take a couple of weeks. Man, what are we doing here? Decision fight. I'm going to fade this one as a whole. I like Guida, the underdog, by decision. And I am not confident in that whatsoever, but that's probably what's going to happen. Speaking of decision fights, here's another one that's likely going that route. Angela Hill, 9-12 in the UFC, a personal favorite of mine. Who doesn't like Angela Hill? Going up against Emily Ducote, 1-0 in the UFC, just beat, I believe, Jessica Penne. I would have been right. She's lost 4 times in her career by KO TKO, once by sub. And that, 5 or 6 losses, I should say, are finishes. Let's see here. Angela Hill, 17 of her 21 fights in the UFC have gone to decision, guys. That's how we're looking to play this one. This one goes to decision. Probably Ducote, but she's going to have to fight smart fight smart, fight intelligently to get past Angie. I mean, Angie hasn't made the optimal lineup in any of her past 5 fights, but she did pull out a squeaker of a victory over Lupita Godinez, scoring less than 71 points in that one. Ducote beat Jessica Penne by a bit wider of a margin, 76.5 in that one. Not much to talk about here. I like Ducote by decision. She scored 3.11 against Penne. She's $100 more than her average than her previous salary. She only allowed 1.75 points per minute, against Emily Ducote. And Angela Hill's offensive pace and DraftKings points per win are towards the bottom of the card, 19th and 22nd. Big fade on this strawweight fight. I mean, you can take a look at the stats. My projections are extremely low. I'm surprised we even have a triple-digit projection in there at all. I like Ducote. I like Ducote decision. And I like neither of these fighters to make the optimal lineup. Next fight, we are trucking along, guys. 21 minutes. We have the return of Niko Price. Hasn't fought in almost a year. Just over a year and 2 months. And then going against Philip Rowe, the Fresh Prince. Philip Rowe, 3 inches of height here, 4-inch reach advantage, and almost a year younger than Niko Price. Shouldn't really matter, 33 and 34 years old. Price, the favorite here as far as DraftKings go, $8,400 to Philip Rowe's 78. Both gentlemen have made the optimal lineup in one of their previous few fights. Price, it would have been against, I assume, Oliveira. 78 points. Did he make the optimal lineup with 78 points? I don't know. I would have to dig into that. Maybe it was a weird card. Philip Rowe scored 100 over on Kosuke, 83 against Jason Witt. What are we looking for here? This is probably going to be a stand-up fight. Both guys Philip Rowe allows over 2 points a minute in takedowns and control time. So if Niko Price wants to get this to the ground, that's probably a good path. Every single time that Niko Price has lost, all 5, he's given up over 90 points, 4 of them over 100 and 1 over 110. So if Philip Rowe can score, Niko Price has given up points out here. 3.5 points a minute is what his defensive pace is. That's what he allows. 108 is what he gives up per loss. Niko's 550 over his average, while Philip Rowe 200 under his average. Rowe scores less than 3 a minute, 92 when he wins. Guys, I don't know what to do about this one. I think Philip Rowe has a chance here, a path to victory at 7,800. I don't know if I'm wanting to go too crazy on him as far as optimal goes. I think Niko Price is a tough MFer, and he probably is going to take a lot to get out of there. Philip Rowe, his last 2 wins over Kosuke and Witt. Both of them have been knockouts in the second round. That is a good showing. Niko Price has been TKO'd in 3 out of his 5 losses. Most recently to Vicente Luque back in 2020. That could be a path here. I'm liking Rowe. I like Price by decision if it goes that far, but I like Rowe as the one to finish inside the distance. As far as early, though, those 2 losses, or those 2 in the second round, one of them might have been good to get him on the optimal lineup with the Kosuke, maybe over 100, but I guess it would be pretty close. If he put up triple digits over Price at 7,800, it would be pretty close to optimal. So I'm going to go over on Rowe here. The pick is Philip Rowe, the underdog pick. I like Niko Price a lot. I'm just interested to see if Philip Rowe can get this done very sneakily. Could be on a 3-fight win streak here in the UFC. So give me Philip Rowe over the off for quite a while Niko Price. Next fight, and I believe we are on the main card. Possibly it's the fight before the main card. I don't know how they have it set up. Eric Anders, your boy, going against Kyle Daukaus. Eric Anders, the huge underdog. 7,100 this week. Has not made the optimal lineup in any of his past 4 fights since 2021. Meanwhile, Kyle Daukaus, 9,100, has made optimal in 1 out of his last 4. But I know for a fact in his last one, he got smashed up by Roman Dolidze, who's also on this card, short notice replacement. Lost to Phil Hawes as well. Had a good win over Jamie Pickett and a good win over Dustin Stoltzfus. My problem is on a name value side of things, those aren't great wins. Jamie Pickett's like 13-8, not having the best UFC career. Stoltzfus, I think, has a few losses, unless I'm getting him confused with the dude who I always get him confused with, who I can't remember off the top of my head. 3.51 points a minute for Daukaus, very good. 104 when he wins, also very good. Gives up a ton, almost over 101 when he loses. He's 8 83, almost $900 over his average salary, guys. That's my big beef with Kyle Daukaus this week. I think this is too wide. I think Daukaus can win, of course, but I think this is way too wide. Eric Anders does not score well generally, 2.85 points a minute, 88.87 when he wins. He is 1,200 under his average salary, scores almost 1 point a minute in takedowns and control time, and Daukaus also scores very well from those categories, 1.7 points per minute in those categories, so even more than Anders. The strength of schedule is close, but it is going to go to Daukaus in every category. Man, Eric Anders only winning his best 5 is to Darren Stewart. So yeah, one of these guys has to win this fight. Both have losing UFC records. Anders 6-7, Daukaus 2-3. Both of them trending down as far as raw DraftKings points per minute. Our projections are very low outside of a first round finish. Yeah. Most of their losses are going to decision. That is the big factor here. I think this one does go to decision. Daukaus scores 91 when he wins by decision. Anders scores 86 when he wins by decision. I think that's exactly what we're looking at here. 88, 90 points for a decision win. I guess I'm picking Daukaus, but Anders could win here. And if he does at 7,100, that could, my guy Lou likes to say slate breaker. So if he gets an early finish, this is a slate breaking potential, but that just does not happen with Eric Anders fights. He did beat Darren Stewart, like I said, in his last, the only win in his last 5, and that was a unanimous decision win, scored 81 points. So give me Daukaus by decision. Not confident. I'm more confident in the fact that I probably don't want to play this one. Next fight, we're definitely on the main card now. Jack Hermansson, the Joker, going against my guy, Roman Dolidze. Guys, I am the Dolidze whisperer. What did I tell you to do when he fought Kyle Daukaus? I was down there saying play him. He's 7,500. He's my favorite dog. What happened? He scored almost 115. What happened against Phil Hawes? I said play him. He's 7,800. Guys, he's still a dog. Play him against Phil Hawes. 109, almost 110. What happened there? Optimal lineup. Guys, Jack Hermansson's the most difficult fight in Dolidze's catalog so far. I understand this, but he gives up 101 when he loses, and he could get thrown around a little bit. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I am not saying that's going to happen. That's kind of what I'll be hoping for, even though I do like Jack Hermansson. But I think Dolidze is like better than a lot of people give him credit for. I just have a feeling. I don't know. Hermansson, obviously the tougher strength of schedule. His wins against Gastelum, Shabazian, and Chris Curtis, loss against Strickland and Vittori. Guys, I'm just, like I said, I think Dolidze is better than people give him credit for. He's got a, not a great takedown defense. Meanwhile, Hermansson's 75%. But if Dolidze can get in there and get violent early, get vicious early, and end this one, guy scores 4 points a minute, 102 when he wins, only gives up 1.51 and 51 when he lost. He's also 750 under his average salary. That's the big thing here. We're getting a guy that scores in top 10 numbers for an extremely low salary, guys. Again, this is the 3rd time in a row we're getting him at a big dog salary, $7,500. These salaries aren't even technically out yet. This is the one fight the DraftKings didn't put salaries out for, but this is the only salary pair that's left after 15 fights, unless they would skip this for some reason and double it up, which they're not. Dolidze should be 7,500. I just don't get it. I don't get why he was so low against Hawes. I don't get why he was so low against Daukaus. I'm picking him again here against Hermansson. And if he's, around, what's his line? What's his betting line? Plus 137. If he got to like 150, I'd be all over betting him again. I might even just find a way to wedge a bet in there somehow, but made optimal in 2 out of his past 4. Second highest power index on the entire card. Jack Hermansson's Chindex is average, so he has been put down before. I'm going Dolidze, guys. Underdog pick again. I'm going Roman Dolidze. 4 of his 5 wins over 90, 3 of them over 100. 4 of Jack's 5 losses over 90, 2 of them over 100, 2 of them over 110. Like I said, if Dolidze can get in there and get violent early, that might be it, man. I'm picking Dolidze by finish, inside the distance. Give me Dolidze, and I'll be way over the field in DraftKings. Next fight, probably the fight that everyone's looking forward to the most out of any of these other ones, most likely, is Tuivasa going against Sergey Pavlovich, guys. This one, I mean, don't blink. Do not blink during this fight. I don't even know why I would have to sell you on this. I'm picking Pavlovich inside the distance, but this could easily be Tuivasa inside the distance. Tuivasa 3 points a minute, 104 when he wins. Pavlovich 6 points a minute, guys. 6.11 points a minute, 113.87 per win, and this is over 4 wins. He's got 5 UFC fights and 12.6 minutes of UFC time. Average fight time 2.5 minutes, guys. Pavlovich fights do not last long. That's the quickest average on the entire card. The second quickest average is Tuivasa at 7.17 minutes of average fight time. Guys, play this fight. I'll be almost 100%. I'll probably be 100% of this one. I'll be over on Pavlovich, and I probably will somehow also be over on Tuivasa. I'm picking Pavlovich to win. I don't have to go over any numbers in this fight. This is going to be a stand and bang fight. Somebody's getting clipped. Somebody's going down. Someone is going to sleep in this one, and you just want to be on both sides of it. I love Pavlovich here. Wins over Green, Abdurakhimov, and Derek Lewis. Early or not, that was a great performance. Tuivasa looked fantastic against Gani, almost had it finished, and then Gan put him down. Before that, wins over Lewis, Sakai, Hardy, and Hunsucker. KOs, all of them, first and second round KOs. Guys, there are no numbers that I really need to go over. Play this fight. Tuivasa, Sergey Pavlovich. The pick is Sergey Pavlovich inside the distance, round number 1. That's the pick. Next fight. Co-main event, Matthias Nicolau going against Matt Schnell. What a letdown of a fight this one's going to be after the fireworks that we are sure to see in its predecessor. But Nicolau, $9,400 here. I mean, this is a cash play, I assume. I'm not going to be playing Schnell at all. 2.5 points a minute, less than 80 per win. He is $755 under his average salary. Nicolau is $1,000 over his average salary. This whole fight screams stay away. Screams stay away. 3.28 a minute, 82 per win. His takedown and control time points are decent, 0.83 points per minute. Schnell gives up over a 0.5 point per minute in those two categories. You can just pause if you want to look at the numbers here. I'm going to scream through this one. Nicolau 4-1 in his last 5 wins over Smolka, Kopp, Elliott, Vark, and Schnell with wins over Nam and Mudarji. Losses to Royval, Bontarine, and Alejandro Pantoja. I mean, my projections are very low here. This one just screams decision. Nicolau decision, right? I'm getting hard Nicolau decision vibes. 5 of his 6 wins have been by decision in the UFC. Schnell does like to get finished, though. 4 of his 5 UFC losses are finish losses. Matthias has finished 1 of his fights. I guess that was... Who was it? Who'd he sub? It's not even on here. It was his first fight. I don't go back. I don't have that on this screen. But he did sub somebody. I'm going to be under on this fight as a whole. I'll be still recovering after it's after the previous fight between Tuivasa and Pavlovich. And yeah. Nicolau decision. I mean, I don't know what else to say about this one. Next fight. My guy, Rafael dos Anjos, share a birthday with this man going up against Brian Barberena. Don't share a birthday with him, so sorry, Brian. I'm picking Rafael dos Anjos. $9,600, the most expensive fighter on the entire card. Sure, $6,600, Brian Barberena. This is a fantastic cash play. Probably a good GPP play as well. Barberena just coming off of the win against Lawler, in which I thought was a great fight until the second round started, and then Lawler was done. But he is 4 of 5 in his last, or four wins in his last 5. His only loss was to Jason Witt. Meanwhile, dos Anjos has lost to Edwards, Champ, Chiesa, beat Felder, beat Moicano, and lost to Fazayev. Not exactly a close fight. Got finished in the 5th, but still scored 50 points in that loss. I like dos Anjos here. I like him anyway. I mean, Barberena gives up well over 1.5 points per minute in takedowns and control time. Dos Anjos is going to take this down, rinse and repeat. I love this fight actually for both GPPs, and I'm probably not going to be as high on dos Anjos as I would be on who was at 9,500. You know who I'm talking. You're screaming it at me right now, but I can't hear you. Who's at 9,500? There's a sneak peek at CM Monk's picks. Oh, JSP, Jonathan Pearce. I will be higher on Pearce than Dos Anjos, but I'll be playing a ton of Dos Anjos. 1,500 over his average salary. That is crazy. Barberena 1,750 under his average salary. Dos Anjos scores 104.5 per win. Barberena gives up 101.88 per loss. Dos Anjos is the pick. Dos Anjos decision is probably what I'm going with, is the pick. And I don't think Barberena is going to be able to do much here. If he does, I would be stunned. But Dos Anjos has been KO'd in 3 of his 12 UFC losses. So that is something. He has been KO'd 3 times, and that would be probably Bam Bam's path to victory, would be KOing Dos Anjos. 4 of his 9 wins are by KO TKO in this promotion. I like Dos Anjos here. I think he gets it done. Wrestle heavy game plan, well over 100 points. Not sure if it's going to be enough to pay off that $9,600 salary. If he could rinse and repeat, if he lands like 8, 9, 10 takedowns in this, 60% control time, a little bit of ground and pound, he'll make the optimal lineup at 9,600. But that's a tough ask because that salary is crazy expensive. Guys, before we get into our last fight, if you haven't already, hit that like, hit the sub on this channel. I really do appreciate it. And let's break down the final fight of UFC Orlando. Stephen Wonderboy Thompson going against Kevin Holland. Love this fight. I am big on Kevin Holland this week. $8,500. He has not made the optimal in any of his past 6 fights since January 1st of 2021. Probably one of the more active fighters we've seen in that time span, to be quite honest. I think Jared Vandera has fought that many times since 2021 started. Kevin Holland 10-5 in the UFC. Stephen Thompson 11-6-1. Thompson at a discount this week, 900 under his average, 7,700. Only 2.33 points a minute, 97.65 per win. That is probably good enough to pay off that $7,700 salary, but you would like to see that a bit higher. We know what Thompson's all about, man. We know what he's going to, big karate background, stand and bang, stay at distance, throw kicks. What is Kevin Holland going to do, especially coming off that Khamzat Chimaev payday that he took? 3 points per minute, 100 when he wins, gives up 104, almost 105 per loss, and he is actually $25 cheaper than his average salary. If he can get it done here against Thompson with like a submission, as he has 3 times in the UFC, 7 of his 10 UFC victories are finishes, so that is what I would expect to see against Thompson. There's just tons of points flying around this guy's fights. Let's see, 7 of 11 UFC fights for Thompson he's scored over 90. Let's see, 6 of them over 100, and 3 of them over 110. Meanwhile, in half of his 6 losses, so 3 of those losses, he's given up over 90, 1 of them over 110. Meanwhile, look at these numbers for Holland. 6 of his 10 wins over 90, 4 over 100, 3 over 110. 5 losses in the UFC, 4 of them he's given up over 90, 3 over 100, and 1 over 110. Gives up a ton of takedown and control time points. We're not going to have to worry about that with Stephen Thompson, are we? I love this fight. My pick is Kevin Holland inside the distance. Stephen Thompson is almost 40 years old, guys. As much as I love him, he has not looked great recently against Gilbert Burns. Got smashed in that one at the exact same salary he is now. And then Bilal, absolutely demolished him. Scored 132 points in that unanimous decision loss. Or win for Bilal, I should say. Beat Jeff Neal, beat Vicente Luque. But yeah, I don't like this fight for Stephen Thompson. I'm picking Kevin Holland inside the distance. 8,500. I absolutely love that salary, so I will likely be on him for DraftKings. I might have some of Thompson too, because man, I'm trying to wonder what Thompson's ownership is going to be. If Thompson's ownership is like 20, I'll probably be over. Maybe. If it's any higher than that, I'll be under. If it's like 25, 30, I'm definitely being under. Kevin Holland should be, his name alone, he should be around 40%. So you either got to go big with Holland or you got to be under the field, I think, if that's the case. But I like Holland for the win. I like him inside the distance. When he wins by KO TKO, 106. When he wins by sub, 111. When he wins by decision, 86. So guys, that is going to do it. We have gone over all 15 fights for UFC Orlando, and as promised, let's get into CM Monk's picks. Last week or 2 weeks ago for UFC Vegas 65, we had 11 fights. He picks 8 correctly, 6 perfect fights called. Love to see that on fire these past 2 weeks. And we're almost, guys, we're almost back up to 60%. There you go, 60% on the year. So just from stats, this is a computer. These are not my picks. In fact, my picks are likely similar most weeks, but not exactly the same. But 72% is pretty good. Or sorry, 60% I think is pretty good for this thing that I just happened to build that picks fights by stats. So here we go. CM Monk's picks for UFC Orlando. Let's start at the bottom. Estela Nunes against Jauregui. We have Jauregui by decision. We've got Francis Marshall, the newcomer, by finish over Rojo. We've got Natan Levy by decision over Valdez. I don't mind that, even though I'm kind of leaning finish. But we've got Tracy Cortez, the underdog pick, over Amanda Ribas by decision. Absolutely love that. I agree with it completely. Jonathan Pearce over Darren Elkins by decision. If that's the case, Pearce could score 140. Put him in your lineups, guys. Mark Diakiese over Michael Johnson by decision. Scott Holtzman over Clay Guida by decision. Emily Ducote over Angela Hill by decision. Nico Price over Philip Rowe by finish. Very interesting. The closest fight on the entire card, according to CM Monk, is Nico Price and Philip Rowe. I mean, 50.18% for Price, 49.82% for Rowe. So I wouldn't be surprised, and I'm picking Rowe, as you know, against the grain here. Kyle Daukaus losing to Eric Anders, the underdog, by decision. The second closest fight on the entire card. Actually, third closest fight on the card other than the main event. So I don't mind that one there. I don't trust Kyle Daukaus as far as I can throw him. Roman Dolidze, I'm glad CM Monk agrees with me, by finish over Jack Hermansson. I absolutely love this pick, CM Monk. We are on the same page this week. Sergey Pavlovich over Tuivasa by finish. Love it. Excuse me. Mateus Nicolau over Matt Schnell by finish. Love it. Just don't love the price there. Rafael dos Anjos over Brian Barberena by finish, 9,600. He could score 120 points here. And then Kevin Holland losing to Stephen Thompson by decision. This is the one we don't agree with, CM Monk. But again, the closest fight on the entire, or second closest fight on the entire card, according to the stats. So that is how CM Monk plays it. Guys, I gave you all my picks. We did it in under 45 minutes, 15 fights. We absolutely killed it. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate that. Stay tuned for Salary Voodoo. That will be recorded likely tomorrow. I got to do all the artwork tonight. That'll be recorded tomorrow and released, I'm sure, tomorrow afternoon. Other than that, guys, on the Wednesday show, Pub Sports Radio, Monk and Lose Happy Hour on Friday on the MMA Engine. As usual, I want all of you to enjoy the fight. So enjoy, and we will see you in the next one.